Right now, we're already in our PID program block that we created before when we needed to create this override logic while we were going through our alarms. So now we're just going to go ahead and create our actual PID controls, and we're going to make this simple, okay? So let's come down here to Technology, PID Control, Compact PID, and I'm going to bring one in here, let it go, and let's go ahead and call this Baffle PID. I know I haven't really been setting names on things, but in this case I think it is going to make life a little easier. It's not like a bunch of random timers all over the place, you know. And let's get one more PID down here, and this is going to be our VFD PID. Okay, so we've got our two PIDs here, and the first thing we want to do is enable them somehow. So what's going to enable this? Well, remember, we've got that baffle control bit, right? Well, this is where that comes into play. So we've got our baffle control bit, and then we also have one for our VFD. So oil pump VFD control. And that's going to make both of these PIDs come on and start doing its thing. So the next thing we have is our set point value. And remember, we've got our set points, but those things are stored as integers. And for this, we want a real value coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and add another network. And let's see, there it is, insert network. And now we're going to do some conversions. So let's come up here and pull in a convert. And we've got our first one, what is that, the baffle? So we've got our baffle PID set point, and that's an int. And we're going to send that out to, and I'm just going to call it BSP to be real simple. And well, actually, rather than setting that, I can just define my tag, and we can make that a local real. There we go. And I'll copy that and paste that in here. So that's going to be our real version of this set point going in. And let's create one more rung in here. And we're going to do the same thing for our VFD set point. And we're going to send that to a VSP. And if it lets me click away from that, good. I'll right click, define it. That's going to be a local real as well. Copy that. And we're going to paste that in on our VFD set point value. There we go. Okay, so we've got that part set up. What are our inputs going to be? Well, here's something else that we have, because remember, for our baffle PID, we're changing what we're using for our input. Okay? And now to set up our input, notice on each side of this PID, we've got input and input PER. We've got output and output PER. If we're using an actual raw analog value, not just a value, but an actual input, so we're just mapping this straight to an input channel, we use the PER. And likewise, if we're taking this output and it's going out straight to an output, then we're going to put it here. But if we're using any kind of converted or scaled values or percentages or anything like that, then we just use this normal input and output. So in this case, that's exactly what we're doing. Our input for this, remember, sometimes we're using RPM, sometimes we're using current, depending on what we're trying to achieve with this PID. So for right now, we're going to, remember, we were setting those both to a baffle input, and that's this baffle PID in. So we're going to go ahead and use that. And for an output, we're always going to be controlling the baffle, and we're going to be controlling that with a percentage, because that's how we set that up. So that's going to be our baffle percent. And then we're going to scale that into an output, and we're going to send that out somewhere. Okay, so we still have a little bit more setup to do on this for our manual controls, but for now, let's come down here and do the same things on this guy. So not FVD, but VFD. We've got our VFD set point, and now we just need our input. And what is our input again? Our input is always going to be oil temp. I remember now. So we're looking for our oil temp as the input, and our output is going to be I think that's oil pump VFD percent right there. Okay, so that's the percent that we're going to be controlling. Now you see this little down arrow here at the bottom of that control. Let's just go ahead and expand both of these, and you see we've got this manual enable disable, or manual enable, and then we also have this manual value. Well, that's where we're going to be able to take manual control of this PID. So when do we want manual control? Well, we want manual control for sure when we're in hand mode. So we need some logic that's going to allow us to be in hand mode, and we didn't set that up as an HOA because I said, well, we're going to come back and do that later. So let's go ahead and give ourselves some new logic, and we're going to do that right here. So here's a push button, and we're going to say that this is baffle hand underscore PB, and I misspelled baffle. Pretty smart, right? So FLE, baffle hand push button. And when somebody pushes that, obviously that's going to be on a one shot. So we're going to bring our positive trigger in here, and we'll have to give this a global value. So we'll go ahead and take the ONS6 because I don't believe we can use statics in here, can we? No, we cannot. So that's going to be global memory bool. And when we push that, we're going to do some digital control logic now. So we're going to energize baffle. We'll just say baffle hand. That's good. Right click on that, define tag, and actually we need this bit, but that's not where we're going to put it. So sorry, let me create it and then let me get rid of it. This is going to be baffle hand trigger. All right, and that will define, that's going to be a local temp bool. So when we come down here, now we're going to have a normally open contact looking for that baffle hand trigger. And then we're going to actually energize. Let's see, there we go. We need an assignment. We're going to energize baffle hand. And we're going to lock that in down here with our famous hold in, which is connected to baffle hand. And then now that we've got our hold in, we're going to need a way to interrupt this cycle. And that interrupt is going to be when somebody puts this into auto mode. So that's going to be baffle auto underscore push button. And actually, now that I think about it, we're probably not going to want that push button there. We're probably going to want to handle that push button right up here and use a trigger. So let's go ahead and create that trigger. And that's going to be our baffle auto push button. And okay, why isn't it showing up? Oh, because I haven't defined it yet. Got it. So baffle auto push button, define tag global memory bool. And after that, we need our positive trigger, looking at ONS7. Define that guy, and that's going to be a global bool. And that's going to lead to an assignment, which is going to be our baffle auto trigger. Right click, define local temp bool. Okay, and while I'm setting up buttons, we're also going to need an off push button. So here's something strange. I'm going to come down here, look for our baffle off underscore push button, and define that as global. And same scenario, let's go ahead and give that guy a trigger. That's going to be our ONS 8. Right click, define tag, global memory bool, and another assignment. And oops, I've got to click on the right thing before I can double click assignment and get that to pop up. Baffle off trigger, local temp bool. Okay, so now we need some control logic here. We know what's happening when we go into hand. We're setting this hand. I'm going to redefine this. I'm going to rename this. So instead of being baffle hand, let's go ahead and call this baffle manual. Okay, so that's going to be changing us into manual control, and we've got that down there already, don't we? No, we don't. So let's copy that bit and put that into our manual enable. So that's going to decide whether or not we're in manual mode. And guess what? We're going to need one more condition down here. And aside from looking for the hand trigger, we're also going to be looking for the off trigger. So either one of those is going to put us into manual mode. And once we're in manual mode, now we determine what kind of value. If we need to override the value, now we can determine what kind of manual set point we're going to be sending in. So what else do we need to do? Well, we also want an int that's going to tell us which mode that we're in. So let's come down here, and we're going to, actually right here, we can go ahead and set that up. So let's get a move out from the right over here. Let's bring that move in. And if we're in hand mode, we're going to move a 1 to baffle HOA. And let's copy that control. And we're going to need branches here and here as well. And let's go ahead and pop that in there. And this is going to put a 0 in, and this is going to put a 2 in. Alright, so now we've got that baffle HOA set up. And then down here, actually I'm just going to go ahead and do that before the off, before we handle the manual rather. So let's come down here, and we're going to look for our comparators, and we're looking for them to be equal. So we're looking for baffle HOA, and if it's equal to 0, then we're going to do a move, and we're going to move the value of 0, because that's going to be a set point value of 0, and we're going to move that into the baffle manual set point. Right click, define tag, and that's going to be a global. And actually, since we're handling all this right in here, I'm going to go ahead and use reals. So let's come and change this to a 0.0, and that will allow us to set this up as a global reel. So global memory reel, done. And then we can take that baffle manual set point, and we can plug that right here into manual value. Okay, and manual value will only take place when we have manual enable engaged. Now for hand mode, we need to manage that kind of differently. We're going to do the same thing, but it's not going to be constant like this one is. That one's going to be on a one-shot, because in hand mode, we want the operator to be able to set and manage that set point and move it up and down. So let's copy all of this, and why did that go down there? Because that's really not where I wanted it. I wanted it up there. So let's delete it from down there, paste in, and now we're looking for the HOA to be 1. And when it is, we want a trigger. So let's just copy a trigger and bring that down here somewhere. We're going to take our ONS, and are we using an ONS 8 yet? Yes. So I guess that needs to be ONS 9. Define it, and that's going to have to be a global bool. Got it? And we're also going to move a 0 in, but we're only going to do it once. So then that gives the operator the opportunity to do it any other time. And the last thing we're going to do is let's bring ourselves down one more rung, Control V, and well, that's not what we wanted, the trigger. Let's delete that trigger. And when we first go to auto, actually I want to do the same thing. I want to go ahead and reset that value to 0. So I'm going to, let's go ahead and take all 3 of these, copy, paste, set that to 2. We need our ONS 10, right click, define that as global memory bool, and we're going to also move 0 in there. And I didn't put those on the same branch because if somebody's going from one to the other, then that trigger would not fire. So that's why I put these on 2 separate branches instead of just branching around this evaluation for 1 with my evaluation for 2. Okay, and I'm setting that manual set point right there, just kind of as a redundancy. I want to make absolutely sure that anytime we go into manual, we're at 0. In some control scenarios, it might be preferable to just move whatever the active set point is into that set point value in the circumstance that like it's already running. But we're not going to go that deep here. I think we're already going a little bit deeper than we need to. So we're managing our normal PID in. We're managing our normal set point value already when we're in auto with our control logic. So at this point, I think we've got this PID set up, and now we just need to kind of do the same thing with our VFD. So I'm going to copy this network here and paste it in. So now I have another one that looks exactly like it. And we've got high oil flow alarm handling. This is going to be baffle HOA. Let's come down here. This is going to be VFD HOA logic. And you can see why I wanted to do this next to the PID, right? It didn't have to be here. I mean, it certainly could have been with my HOA logic, but in my mind, it just made sense to drop it in here. And let's see. There we are. Am I missing something here? Yeah, that's not baffle HOA. So that's going to be set point conversion. Set point conversion. I got a little mixed up when I was setting these labels. So that's going to be baffle HOA, and this is going to be VFD HOA. Got it. Okay, and now we really just need to come down here and change tags for the most part. So VFD, and we're looking for hand underscore PB. And this is going to be VFD off push button. So got it. This is going to be VFD auto push button. And these one-shots, what's the last ones we used? We used 10. So let's go through and just do all these wholesale so we don't forget. 11, 12. This ONS7 is wrong. We've got that guy up here. Ooh, that was almost a problem. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So let's get rid of that pound sign and replace that with some quotes telling it that it's actually, oh no, we need to do that here. So quote ONS7. If we aren't already using ONS7, we're not good. Let's go ahead and just define that while we're up here. Global bool, done. So coming down here, 11, 12. Now actually this needs to be 13, 14, and 15. Not 115, come on. Okay, 15, and I think that's got us. And this is going to be our VFD hand trigger. This is going to be our VFD HOA. This is going to be our VFD auto trigger. If I can select the word baffle. Man, typing's killing me today, huh? And we need a VFD manual set point. And yeah, I think that's a start. Let's go through and copy and paste some of this stuff. So our hand trigger needs to also go there. Our off trigger goes there. And I guess I didn't copy it because it's not letting me paste it. So let's try that again. Copy, paste. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, so I guess I didn't change that tag. I thought I did. So VFD off trigger, copy, paste. Yeah, PID. That's what I had. What the hell is this thing doing? VFD off trigger. Control C, copy. Come down here, paste. Okay, it's working. Copy my auto trigger. And actually, you know what I noticed? I'm not actually using my auto trigger for anything. So I guess I can just go ahead and get rid of those auto triggers. So let's just delete that, and just for housekeeping's sake, I'm going to go ahead and delete that auto trigger value right out of there. Okay, so that simplified things. Let's come back into our VFD logic and let's start defining some of these tags. So VFD hand push button, we know that's going to be global. And let's, yep, that one's already global. Define that guy. I don't even know what I'm clicking in. Global, okay. Our one shots, global, global, global for 13 as well. And our hand trigger, that can be a local temp bool. VFD HOA is a global int. Here we've got a local temp bool. And let's come down a little bit. And is there anything that we're missing? Okay, that still says baffle manual set point. So that needs to be VFD manual set point. That's going to be a global real, which we will copy and paste over that. And for our VFD HOA, we need to copy that, and we've still got some pasting to do. Here, here, here. And I thought I saw, yeah, here and here as well. Okay, I think we've got all of that. Our one shots, we haven't defined those two yet, so global bool, global bool. and VFD manual set point. Let's copy and paste that here. And this needs to be VFD manual. Got it. Right click, and we're going to define that as, I think that's supposed to be global bool, right? Yeah. And we can go ahead and copy that and drop that manual right into there where it goes on the PID. And we also need to overwrite that. And this is going to be our, and actually that's where we were supposed to use our triggers, wasn't it? We did need auto triggers. Oh man, and I went and deleted those for no reason. Okay, so let's come back up here. That's what happens when I get confused and start getting all squirrely. So when someone pushes the auto push button, up here is actually where we want our assignment. And let's bring that move down here. And that's going to be our baffle auto trigger. Which is a local temp bool. Copy that, come down here, and that's where we wanted to put that, right there. So that trigger bit is going to be our interrupt. And same thing in here. Let's do the same. Would it still work the way that I had it? Yes, but it's not very tidy. So we are fixing it. VFD auto trigger. Right click, define it, local temp bool, bring our move down here, copy that, and set that up as our interrupt. Okay, so does everything down here say VFD now? I'm not seeing any baffle logic anywhere else, so I'm taking that as a good sign. I think we just need to copy our manual set point and bring that down here into manual value. And yeah, I think at this point we have got those all set up. The one thing that I'm not sure about is for our baffle control bit and our oil pump VFD control bit. I don't remember if we actually have those being controlled in our control logic. I think we do, and I'm just going to let's jump into our function block modes and make sure that we're engaging our baffle. So once we're in warm-up, yeah, okay, we are setting our baffle good. So I'm going to assume that we're handling those all the way through. And I think at this point we've kind of got everything set up. So I'm going to call that done. We don't really need to call this block from anywhere because this is running on time rather than a call from, like, say, our main program or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and call that our draft on this programming.